We're in the Destiny Global studio, and it is the 15th of June, and I'm with Rob Zai. But welcome. I
Hey,
know it's been
it's a
a
pleasure.
journey for you. And I've seen you here quite a few times. I've seen you going to Jamaica. And in all that you've learned, now is the time I can see you on a big stage. Can you tell us something, how you started?
Well, in as far as music, I started here. I'd say even I was born in England, but my music was born here. So I started playing at the music school here, classically trained, and I think that was a really great thing because
So you were classically trained?
yeah, I was classically
Okay.
trained. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I did my associated
Growing
board exams and
grades,
things like
yeah.
this. I kind of hop, skipped, and jumped through 1, 5, 8s, and
Yeah.
boom. But yeah, and I think it's important because when you're listening to musicians, you can actually really hear a lot of the time classically trained musicians because you learn to play with a lot of expression because you read the expression, so you interpret the music how the composer wrote it. Which is important, and I think also when I write music too now, there's a lot of things get missed, and I guess that's because of today's popular music as well. Once you've got booms, booms, it's all you need and a good hook, And when I write music, you really tell a story with the instruments, and there's all these little things in there that I've put there purposely, and some people hear them, some don't, and I think when you go back later on in years, you'll kind of sit back and listen to it. But I started out doing that, and then went from playing with a reggae band for quite a few years here, Amati, in St. Lucia. And that really kind of opened me up to a lot of Jamaican artists and music as well, and playing with them also. And then from then went on to another group called Chronic Heights, which was like a dancehall reggae group that we produced. And during that time had this nightclub, which you know about, the Half Yellow Moon. So dabbled in that for a while, ran fast and didn't look back, Tough times. That was nightclub business is hard work.
I can tell you that. I can see it from my face even now.
Yeah, it's hard work. So and then from that actually I got one of the highlights of my career was performing with Kimani Marley. I actually met his producer down here at the club. I was playing with a local artist at the time and ended up talking, and then he brought me up, and ended up recording and then going on tour with them. Wow. So I did that for some time, and then in that process with that same label started to write my first album, Rise Up. And I came back down here to St. Lucia at that point in time to write that album. And so I did, and then I ended up working with the same musicians in Miami to record it, and some other really great engineers as well. And then I've really just been promoting it and pushing that on my own, doing different projects. I've come out, funnily enough, my latest album is called Destiny as well.
Okay.
So
wow.
maybe a theme tune in there or something.
That means we have to work together.
There you go. It's Destiny.
You mentioned classically trained. I just want to take you back a bit because when you're classically trained and you said it opens you up, what about musicians that are not classically trained? Do you think that they are at a disadvantage?
No, not at all, because everybody draws their strengths from different inspirations, and especially today, the availability of tutorials and things like that online all the time. Whatever style of music you want to learn is available to you as well, and people just have different feels. You grow up in a household where everybody's playing music and you're dancing. You already have that feel. That's maybe what you like. So you're a lot more natural with it. I think there is some definition between musicians that are technically very good musicians, but they don't necessarily have a lot of feel.
Yeah.
And that kind of stands out. Where you're very much taught, but when it comes down to playing, I'd rather give you 3 notes of nothing but expression than 300 notes in a 10-second period.
Well, from what you've said, I've had quite a few classically trained musicians around, and I can see the difference in when somebody just playing from feel than classical, because as you say, it's very theatrical.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
There's something to it.
It's almost magnified.
Immediately.
Yeah.
So I can understand. I just wanted to take you down that.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, when I'm soloing, and not just soloing, but playing on the melodies, you can put a lot of expression into it because you really start to feel maybe also what the artist was trying to portray as well in the song, whether it's lyrically or just emotionally within the music. So yeah, I draw from that a lot.
And who is some of your famous composers?
Some of my favorite composers. Well, I don't tend to listen to any one artist or group or composer particularly. I try to draw from a lot of different people. I mean,
Even classical. You don't.
yeah,
You never.
I mean, I haven't listened to some classical in quite some time, I must say. But, you know, I know the traditional classical songs and everything. I've not played any in so long since I was at music school, really. You go into different things. I'd say reggae is my love, you know, I really do. I mean, people see you with the sax in your hand and you're automatically a jazz musician.
Yeah.
No, I don't really class myself as a full-on jazz. I can play jazz, but I can play a lot of other things as well. And reggae just happens to be something I really love to play.
How did you get to acquire the skill of reggae, playing reggae music? Because it must be a passion for you. You hear someone play.
Well, it's a collective of playing with I guess, a group of musicians that are playing reggae, because from a sax point of view, a melodic point of view, there's nothing reggae about it unless you're playing a reggae song. You know, that comes from your drum and bass predominantly. So just being part of, you know, reggae music is great uplifting music, really. You know.
Inspirational.
Yeah, inspirational,
Powerful
prolific.
people.
Yeah. You know, I mean, so I've gotten into that. And over the years, I'll play anything, you know, and music is music for me, really. You know, when I hear something moves me, it doesn't really matter what genre it is at this point. You know, if something kind of grabs you in the music, it grabs you in the music.
And how long have you been playing in total? It must be a long
I
time.
dare say.
I've seen you, I don't want to say, for a few years now.
Quite a few years, yeah. You could put a few decades behind me for sure.
So
Yeah,
you've
for
been
sure.
playing quite a long time.
Yeah, I have. And I've been doing other things though, you know, because people would say, you know, oh, you know, I've been doing a lot of the hotel circuit here in St. Lucia for quite some time, you know, but that has also facilitated me to do other side of things of my life, you know, my villa business and other things I'm learning and doing a lot of that, the actual building and designing and doing these things. So
all your artisticness.
I'm a creative.
Yes.
I'm a creative, and it just, you know, music is, I'd say, the first and foremost thing up there, but I'm creative and, you know,
And music is your gift.
Yeah.
You can tell. I was saying to you, by the way you hug the saxophone, you know, you can tell that you're in love with it as well, too, because some people play music and they just play it very casually. They don't have an interest in it.
Yeah, I don't often play with a standing mic. I like a clip-on mic where I can move around. And Finesse and I were watching a video the other night of us playing, and she said, "No wonder you have got back problems. You know, you're up and down and back and forth and moving all around like this. She said, no wonder you got back problems." But you know, you don't think of these things when you're performing. Nothing hurts. You know, you play music, so you just play.
And I suppose there's a lot of reggae artist icon that you because I've heard you play quite a few songs from Bob.
Yeah, I love. There's so many different reggae artists I love. You know, yeah, Bob, I definitely know. I'd say most of his tunes, but you know, Third World, Morgan Heritage, Chronics, Protege, you know, Coffee. There's just so many different, you know, bits of inspiration you can get from all of them and how it's progressed and everything. And I love the old school Buju and you know all this stuff. Yeah, you know. So yeah, it goes way back. So sometimes we'll be driving down and Finesse like, "How do you know this song?" I'm like, you know, I've lived here longer than you have, by the way.
Correct.
So it goes back, you know.
See, how do you see your music transcending now? I mean,
Well,
we just had a brief talk about it a while ago.
yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say, you know. It's what you want. You've got to manifest obviously what you want, and you know, when you're playing here and you're playing to a smaller audience, this smaller audience is still from the rest of the world, and if they're touched by your music, then you know you're doing something right and you've got something to offer and something to say, and you just need that vehicle of marketing and magnitude to reach to reach a bigger audience. So you know you're on the right path when you hear it almost nightly when you're performing, and that in itself is inspiring. So you know it's a journey, really. You know, you go through years of having some really great opportunities of, you know, like just at the beginning of this year, for example, we got asked last minute to do a private gig in a villa. You know, last minute, yeah, okay, cool, we're gonna, and that was like, it was some Jamaicans actually, and they were like really loving the music, really loving it. And then you hear it often, you know, like, we want you to come and play at our party in wherever in the States or wherever here. And like, yeah, okay, cool, sure, you know, here's a card. You know, maybe 90% of the time you don't hear from them again. But then he had his brother on the phone, he's like, yeah, man, we're gonna bring these two up to Miami next week. And we're like, what, next week? Like, yeah, so, okay, well, let's just see, we've got a week to see if it's gonna go. And it went, you know. So we went and we did this amazing party on this mega yacht, like sailing around Miami, you know.
Really?
Yeah, so, and it just opens up other opportunities that people see you, and it's a constant networking thing like that. So other things come of it. They really loved it, use us for other things. So, you know, those things happen, you get gigs. We just did the Dominica Bouillon Jazz, which was created by some artists similar to us that have started an online Facebook live gig, which we've been doing, and we've been raising funds. So that's been another aspect of what we've done over this last year as well, between the two of us, of raising funds, not only for ourselves, but to help from a charitable point of view. So we love doing those things, you know, when things open up.
Socially responsible. You've got to be socially responsible.
Yeah, I think so.
In whatever you do, you know, money's not the main factor.
It's not happiness, and more so seeing other people happy is, it becomes very important to you.
I know you've played at a few jazz festivals here before, you know, and can you take us back to the first time you got on the jazz here? Because
well, the first time I got on the jazz here?
Yeah,
you want to go there?
Somebody called you up and says, Rob would like you to perform here.
Right. Well, you know, I don't know. It's an interesting story, you know, and it's one that would take a whole documentary, I would say. But I mean, I think it's the jazz festival. To put things in a nutshell, I would say it's been a great thing for the island, in terms of visibility. I think the artists that have gotten the opportunity to perform on the jazz festival, it's a nice thing to have put that in your resume to say. I think it could have been way much more, and I speak for myself.
Do you think they cater for more international artists?
Oh, most definitely, and understandably so. It's a business, you know. They've got to have high ticket items on there to draw in the crowds, and so that's understandable. I just think, like with a lot of things, and like I was just saying, I'll speak for myself, but I think I also speak for a lot of other musicians and artists here. The jazz festival could have been so much more for so many more artists and bands here. There could have been so much more exposure provided for us in the 27 years of the jazz festival, and gone on to so many other things, you know, especially when we had the listening ear and participation of BETJ.
Yeah, you had the audience, you had the crowd, you
yeah,
had the TV, you had everything.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it could have just done a lot more for us. I think from a local musician and band point of view, yeah, we could have evolved if we'd have maybe had more involvement in it, you know, as a collective, rather than maybe just a few people involved in it. I think it would have been better, you know, looking back on it. But, you know, it is what it is, and I think for what it has been, and hopefully will continue to be, it'll be an avenue for St. Lucian artists to aspire to get on that stage and perform for other things.
Because of COVID, but did they have a festival last year before?
No, because things were locked down in like May and March, and then from May everything was locked down. So no carnival, no jazz, you know, nothing like no Giniquio, nothing like this.
So it's quite a road now to rebuild.
It is, yeah, and you know, there's a lot of. I mean, I think musicians have got hit quite the hardest, really. I mean, we're one of the last sector to really go back to work, and even that work, to be honest, because everybody else is struggling, it's a knock-on effect that you don't go back. You've been out of work for almost 18 months, but you're not going back to work in the same capacity you were in terms of your revenue, you know, so it makes it harder, you know, and especially being out of work for so long and not really any proper support structure.
I was going to come to that. Economically, how come there's nothing in put packages for musician, artists, etc.?
Well, yeah, I know. They tend to think that they give you $500 here and you'll be good for the rest of the year. I mean, really, realistically, how do you live off of that? You know, anybody. I mean, maybe it'll go further for some person than it would for another person, but, you know, realistically speaking, you can't go from having an income regularly, weekly, to absolute zero for almost a year and a half, you know. And everybody is diversified, you know. You got singers and piano players gone into filming and production, and, you know, other people into stocks and whatever. So everybody's, you know, had to do what they can because they're creative, and they've got to find other channels to let that out, and also to try and make some money too. So it's a survival thing, you know.
I think all over the world, musicians and artists have been hit heavily on it, but at least there is some package put in place for people abroad.
Right.
But it's very, very difficult from what I've seen of these.
It is, and I mean, from my experience of this last year and a half and developing the Vacation Rental Association, I wish so much that we could develop a musicians association, you know, but it's so difficult, you know, with everybody kind of coming together and being on the same page. And it's times like this that we really need that. We need that voice, we need that body, and it's a shame not to have that right now. You know, to be able to move forward and protect our own within our own industry.
How would it seem to have a Destiny Talent Caribbean similar to X Factor? How do you think of that concept? Do you think a concept like that would go down good?
I think it would. I mean, they've had, you know, in the past, one of the phone networks have done a Rising Stars one, something similar to that. So I think it creates a lot of excitement and opportunity and for young aspiring artists, to kind of get behind it. I think from the past experience of it, it really encourages new people to come in. You don't find a lot of maybe established musicians and artists who will want to do something like that necessarily. But
it brings in the new.
It brings in the new.
Not
Yeah, it's
necessarily
still
that
exposure.
It takes out the old, but it brings in the new.
Yeah.
And the old can give their experience.
Right.
Extend their
Yeah.
experience.
I mean, they have recently, I know the government sponsored the Playlist 42 in alignment with the Independence Day celebration. So there were quite a number of artists and musicians that got an opportunity to perform for this, which was great. I think it's really good that a lot of people got, but there are a lot more that didn't. And so it just needs to find other ways or additional things that you can do so everybody gets a piece of the pie, because it's really important, and music is the spice of life, really. It's the fabric of our society.
We've proven that in Jamaica,
Right.
how big their music industry is.
Yeah, exactly.
Why can't St. Lucia have a similar music industry, a
Yeah.
sports industry, similar?
Yeah, it's like a lot of things, like you look at Trinidad and Jamaica, for example, and they've got such a bigger population, so they've automatically got a bigger support structure behind them than we do, in a sense, with our smaller population here. So that is a struggle, I think, for us as well. But, it's all about marketing, promotion, branding, getting yourself out there and the right people in the right place to do the right jobs,
So maybe we could look forward for a destiny, going back to
Hey.
talent.
I'll be your Simon Cowell.
Yeah. Yeah, and long term, how do you see your future long term?
Long term, I hope.
music.
Yeah, my music and my future in music long term. Finesse and I have been working together for the last 5 years now. We've got a really good vibe, a good brand. We write really well together, and I think it's something that I want to see how it grows. She's brought me out of my shell a lot more, even so, as I've been doing it a lot longer. But I think vice versa also. I see the growth in her as well, and I hope once we can travel a lot more, that we can really get into going up to, whether it's to England, to New York, to Miami, wherever, and do these things. And I think you've got the kind of music we have as well. You start with your following and you let it grow. Wherever you go, it's a ripple effect. Yeah, the nucleus effect. So we've got to go to these places and perform. So I hope that's where we can go within this next year.
Well, I'm sure that, with the spirit that you've had so far, it will take you there. And I wish you all the best.
I hope so.
And it was a pleasure.
Likewise. And this is the first of many interviews, I'm sure. We'll do
Especially
the things
Destiny.
together. Hey, it is ours.